Dr. Sarah Chen died 3 days after the result printed. Not in a cave, not in a sandstorm, in a fluorescent-lit corridor where the air tastes like copper and the elevator keeps dropping. One floor, another, another, until your stomach lurches and you realize you've been holding your breath the whole way down. The tech beside you tries to smile, but his jaw won't stop twitching. His badge swings like a metronome. He won't meet your eyes. Because on that page, right there, still warm from the printer, 2 dates sit side by side, like they're daring you to call one of them a liar. One is the safe story everyone repeats. The other is older. Way older. And the moment you feel that older date land in your chest, you understand the real problem. If this piece of parchment is older than we thought, and then the people who told you the timeline was settled weren't just wrong, they were comfortable. Pause there. Think about what that means. Then it got worse. Hold on. Before you let that headline hijack your brain, 300 years older, you need to feel how this actually happens. Not from the outside, from inside the room. Your tongue sticks to the roof of your mouth because the air is so dry it feels like it's stealing moisture off your teeth. You shift your weight and your knees crack in the quiet. On the table, a fragment resting on a black stone platter, surrounded by the unglamorous props of real work. Ruler, label, and thin strips of Japanese rice paper holding a torn edge together. Watch this. The official story ends there. We photographed it. We cataloged it. We preserved it. The real story begins when a computer has to learn what your eyes do without thinking. What's ink? What's parchment? What's just darkness pretending to be something important? Wait. The reason this matters isn't because AI read the scrolls like a fortune teller. It's because the newest dating push didn't start with a dramatic new discovery. It started with a lab decision. How you clean a sample, how you measure it, and how honest you are about contamination. You can almost taste the irony, can't you? The thing that may have made some scrolls look younger wasn't ancient dust. It was modern help. CNN quotes Professor Mladen Popovic explaining that castor oil was used in the 1950s to make text more legible, and that it can skew radiocarbon results toward a more modern date. Sounds crazy, right? But it's not a movie twist. It's conservation history. And once you accept that, you have to ask the nastiest question in this whole story. How many clean dates were built on dirty handling? Now watch this. The paper trail is sitting in plain sight, and it has exact timestamps like a courtroom exhibit. The PLOS-1 study that kicked off the newest wave was received on November 21st, 2024, accepted on April 3rd, 2025, and published on April 6th, 2025. You heard that right. You can click the page and verify it yourself. Don't trust me, don't trust a screenshot. Check the top of the article like you're checking a receipt after a bad meal. The official story ends there. The real story begins when you read what they did. Radiocarbon dating on 30 manuscripts from 4 different sites. 25 from the Qumran caves, plus Masada, Morabat, and Nahal Hever, and a chemical cleaning step designed to strip away fatty contamination before the dating even happens. And that's where the room changes. Because once those numbers start coming back, the timeline stops behaving. Stop. You need one concrete example, one sharp nail you can tap with your finger. The study calls out a specific Daniel manuscript fragment, 4Q114, as one of the most significant findings. Its accepted 2 sigma calibrated radiocarbon range is 230 to 160 BCE, not 1 year. A window, a probability shape. But still, older than the tidy story some people were expecting, and close enough to the time scholars argue the text was written that it forces a new kind of argument. Anas the Guardian quotes Popovich saying the scrolls are like a time machine, that we can shake hands with these people from 2,000 years ago. And then it immediately brings in the friction. Critics warning that radiocarbon dates the parchment, not necessarily the moment the ink was applied. Doesn't add up, does it? It does, and that's the point. It's complicated, and complication is where the fights begin. Here's the thing. The researchers didn't stop at carbon. They built an AI helper they named Enoch. Trained on 24 newly radiocarbon-dated scroll samples, and reported mean absolute error around 27.9 to 30.7 years. They trained it on 62 images, tested it on 13 unseen images, and reported an 85.14% overlap between its predictions and the carbon probability windows on that test set. And then they pushed it onto 135 previously undated manuscripts and said 79% of the predictions looked realistic in expert post-checking. That's not magic. That's a tool with error bars and embarrassment built in. The unrealistic bucket where the model basically admits it's lost. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. The hype version of this story wants a miracle. The real version is scarier, because it's plausible. Then a file was declassified. Not by a government, by a journal page anyone can click. Pause there. Think about what that means for the old handwriting timeline people have leaned on for decades. The paper says the radiocarbon ranges and Enoch's predictions often skew older than traditional handwriting-based estimates. And it argues that Herodian script may show up earlier than expected, and overlapping longer with Hasmonean script than the clean textbook chart suggests. Translation: that neat evolution ladder might be a poster, not reality. And if the poster is wrong, a lot of confident conclusions built on it start wobbling, quietly at first, then all at once. That wasn't the strangest part, because the real power move isn't older dates. It's non-destructive leverage. Carbon dating destroys a tiny piece of material. CNN notes it's only about 7 milligrams in some cases, but it's still gone forever. So now imagine you're an institution with fragments you treat like a national nerve. Would you rather cut them again and again, or let a model estimate dates from images, then only carbon test the few that truly matter? This is where control shifts, from whoever has physical access to whoever has the best digital pipeline. And that's why the modern fight isn't only scholars versus skeptics. It's also open tools versus closed tools. The Times of Israel report spells out the practical nightmare. Computers must first learn where letters are and where parchment begins, then isolate ink from background. The TIU team reports 98% accuracy for parchment detection and 75% for ink, and quotes Professor Nahum Dershowitz with the most human line in this whole saga. With the Dead Sea Scrolls, even reading just one more letter is good. He's not selling you a miracle. He's selling you patience. And patience is exactly what conspiracy narratives hate. Wait. Now we put you on the ground. Because this story isn't only labs and PDFs. You're standing at Qumran National Park. Desert light bleaching everything flat. The wind scraping grit against your lips. The air tastes like minerals. There's nothing soft out here. GPS. 31.7415307, 35.4598211. The place is a historical landmark and tourist attraction, and the listing even notes wheelchair-accessible entrance and parking, meaning this isn't some unreachable myth zone. People walk it every day. And that's the weird contrast. You can stand near where the legend started, but the actual scroll fragments are kept elsewhere, under controlled conditions, because exposure is slow death. Meanwhile, across the world, the public meets the scrolls through screens. Through the digital library the IAA describes as bringing history in its fullest glamour to anyone with a touch of the screen. Same artifacts. Two realities. That pattern repeats. Hold on. The locked door feeling is real, and it has an address. Israel Antiquities Authority. West Jerusalem, GPS 31.78 43852, 35.2 357 This is where limited access becomes policy. And if you've ever wondered why people online slip from preservation rules into they're hiding something, this is the exact psychological pivot. You can't touch it. So you start imagining what you're not allowed to see. But the IAA's own project page openly says the goal is worldwide access via high-resolution multispectral imaging, including near-infrared that can recover faded writing. The official story ends there. We're digitizing. The real story begins when you ask who gets to build the tools that interpret the digits. Listen, here's the myth you're going to see in the comments if you don't kill it now. AI decoded secret messages between the lines and proved a hidden truth. No, what we actually have, verifiable, clickable, is imaging that can expose faded strokes, segmentation that can isolate ink, radiocarbon windows that can shift earlier after better cleaning, and a model that guesses dates from handwriting shapes with known uncertainty. That's a better flashlight and a better ruler, not a forbidden gospel. And yeah, controversial claim. Most 300 years older posts are selling certainty they don't have. But here's the second controversial claim, and it's the one that matters. The bigger scandal isn't the exaggeration. It's how long a field can run on inherited assumptions when the artifacts don't come stamped with dates. The dates don't match. And when dates don't match, somebody's story breaks. Catch that? This isn't just about being earlier or later. It's about what earlier or later allows you to argue. And if a manuscript copy is closer to the time a text was written, it squeezes the gap between author and copy. That doesn't prove theology, but it changes the range of plausible histories people tell about how fast ideas moved, how quickly texts spread, and whether certain arguments, too late to be original, still hold water. A BC Australia lays out the tension in plain terms. Carbon dating can be vulnerable to contamination and can be imprecise for this era. Handwriting-based dating can also be shaky. Combining methods can strengthen reliability, but training sample sizes remain a concern. Promising, not final. And you should want that caution, because if you don't demand it, you're not investigating, you're just collecting vibes. What came next makes that look like nothing, because now you have a choice. You can treat this like a neat factoid, older scrolls, or you can treat it like a living case file. Here are your two verification statements, clear and brutal. First, go to the PLOS1 page and verify the received/accepted/published dates for yourself. November 21st, 2024, April 3rd, 2025, June 4th, 2025. Then find the section where they describe radiocarbon dating on 30 manuscripts from 4 sites and the cleaning step before dating. Second, find the reported performance numbers. 27.9 to 30.7 years error, 85.14% overlap on test images, 79% realistic predictions on 135. Then decide whether that feels like a tool you'd trust as an assistant or a tool you'd only use as a second opinion. Explain that to me in one sentence. Now, one more layer peels back. Follow the money isn't always a scandal. Sometimes it's a map of intent. As the Cordis page for the ERC project. The hands that wrote the Bible states the objective in a way that's almost a mission statement for this entire era. Combine handwriting study, computational intelligence, and radiocarbon dating to build a stronger basis for dating and identifying scribes. That tells you this isn't a random viral moment. It's a structured push that's been building for years. It's also a reminder. This is going to keep moving.